Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And if you would, we're going to utilize all the whistles and bells that are available on Zoom, which means you have the option to utilize the chat room. You have the option to also use some of the special reaction emojis at the bottom. And at different intervals, we're going to ask you to unmute yourselves whenever you might have questions or comments at particular pregnant pauses. And we're going to do it that way so that we can continue with the flow of our special Globinar for today and allow all the information that is to be shared and gleaned to come through, and then give you the opportunity to ask questions. Is that okay with you? And if it is, use some of your emoji reactions in the bottom. This way I know they're working, and we will be monitoring the chat room and have interval for questions. Again, a warm Georgia spring welcome to our Global Chamber Atlanta Globinar today. My name is Dana Austin, Executive Director for Global Chamber Atlanta. I am a published author, a healthcare professional, and public speaker, and happy to have each of you all here today. And as our special guest is Junko Horvath, who's also a member of the Global Chamber and a part of the advisory board. Our topic today is navigating the financial terrain during times of change and protecting your money. Great. So the Global Chamber mission and vision, I like to always start our meetings out with that, because sometimes we have people that are here for the first time. And if you're here for the second or third time, it's just a reminder of who we are, how we operate. So our mission is to accelerate cross-border trade and investment in every region of the world by engaging top executives and leaders with warm connections and timely information to grow business, create success, and change the world. We're world changers. And our vision as a business world where it is an easy growing across region as well as selling across the street. So whether you're selling across the street or across the region or across the world, our vision is to make that process easy for you and all that are involved. We're the first and only chamber of commerce located in hundreds of metro areas that is focused on growing border trade, investments in a collaborative way, any and everywhere around the world. And if you need more information, you can always find us on globalchamber.org. And just recently, Global Chamber moved its headquarters right into Thunderbird School of Global Management in Phoenix, Arizona. There was an incredible meeting in person that took place there with our founder and director, Doug Brunke, and a host of other leaders from around the world. It's really a privilege to be able to be housed in such an esteemed institution that looks at global management, global affairs, and we're looking forward to hearing from Doug at some portion of our Globinar today. So here we are, right here in Georgia, Atlanta, unmatched Southern hospitality. I know we have some people that are newly relocated here to Atlanta, and we hope you experience the unmatched Southern hospitality. We are the hub for one of the world's busiest airport, but not just the busiest airport. We are the hub for Delta Airlines. And when you think about doing business locally across borders, you want a hub that you can really get direct flights to almost anywhere. And Atlanta is that. We are the headquarters for Forbes 500 companies, several of them. Cost of living here is comparable and affordable. The quality of life, I would argue that it's excellent when you have various seasons, and we're right in the beginning of our spring, and you have a diverse talent pool here. This is also a fintech hub. It's the country's best place to start a new business. So if you haven't started a new business or you're thinking about another one, you're in the right place. And I put a few of some of Georgia greats on the screen here. It's just not enough room to put them all, but I did have to definitely include one woman because of this being the International Month of Women. So we have Julia, our favorite Georgia peach right there. I put here on the screen that we have 30 companies headquartered right here in metropolitan Atlanta among the 2020 Fortune 1000, of which 16 companies ranked in the elite Fortune 500. So you can see you're familiar with many of these, but of course we also are the state of the champions, not just for the Braves, but also for the Georgia Bulldogs, Home Depot, Infosys, Equifax, UPS, Coca-Cola, CNN, and of course CDC. We cannot leave them out. So when you think about the population for Atlanta, you think, I don't know how many really it could be in Atlanta, but I remember not too long ago when we were at 4 million, and I'm not quite sure how we reached 6 million, but people recognize that great things are happening in Atlanta. Forward movement, business opportunities, education, it's happening right here. So we have well over 6 million people according to the 2020 census. So you know that number has significantly gone up. We have 29 counties that we will be talking about in the metropolitan Atlanta area. And the Department of Economic Development announced that the film industry recorded a blockbuster year in Georgia during the fiscal year of 2021. So at the time when COVID was even at its peak, movies were still a great generator of revenue right here in the state of Georgia. So we are now the Atlanta Wood instead of Hollywood or Bollywood. Now, here's a little bit of trivia. So I like to keep you engaged on different levels. Yes, you can make your comments, and I'm hoping that you'll put your business and how we can reach you in the chat. Please share that throughout. But I like to do a little bit of trivia before we move on. When you think about the counties of Georgia, of metropolitan Atlanta, I remember when it was just a small nucleus and then how that kept expanding out. And now we have grown significantly. How many counties? This is just, like if you were counting the gumballs in a machine, how many counties do you think Georgia actually has? Because I already told you how many are in the metropolitan Atlanta area. And so you've got like 5 seconds to kind of count or figure it out. And somebody might be really good with the visual. How many counties do you think that we have in the state of Georgia? I'll check the chat box, 17. So that leans a little bit more towards our metro Atlanta. That's correct. A little closer to that. So 15, 20. Okay, thank you. We love the input. 75. All right, I see you, Stephanie. I see you, Lisa. I see each of you, and we thank you for your input. Well, here it is. We have actually 29 counties covering metropolitan Atlanta. So when you think of Global Chamber Atlanta, we encompass 29 counties. We are a little bit unique when you start comparing a local chamber of commerce, which has great value as well, versus a global chamber of commerce. With our global reach here in the metro, we cover 29 counties. We function on a different system. They're not for profits, we are for profits, but we are able to reach across county lines on without any interruptions. And the answer to the trivia question, because I know you're waiting to see, we have 159 counties in the state of Georgia. So that's more than any other state that's east of the Mississippi. I know you wanted to know that today, but think about businesses. 29 counties in Metro Atlanta, 159 total, and we're not limited to just the state of Georgia because, as you know, we are global. And with Global Chamber, some of our core principles is member satisfaction, because customers are at the key of what any business to operate. The product, of course, operating in levels of high integrity, providing positive results that the customer seeks for, and being transparent, offering education opportunities, sustainable operations, profitability, and so much more. You can find more of this information on globalchamber.org. And how do we do what we do? We listen to our members. We listen to our sponsors. We offer spectacular Globinars such as this one today, that you can glean information, apply it, build and grow professionally, financially, and then also by networking events. And last month we had a global youth leader, Globinar, and we had over 300 young entrepreneurs, business owners in attendance. And it was just incredible. So we do support opportunity for our global young leaders. We also have a League of Opportunities where business owners can do a pitch of their businesses and they provide information ahead of time. They do slides, they get a set amount of time to do that. And then we provide the support and resources if we can move them forward. And likewise for Leagues of Extraordinaires. This is on the leadership side, presenting some of our top extraordinary ED leaders. And then we also have meetups. I hope this is answering some of the questions that you might have if you're new to this. And we are monitoring the chat room in the event that you have some of the questions. So Global Chamber Atlanta, this is what we want to let you know today. This is our focus. Our focus is finance and business incentives. On the business incentive sides, people that want to come and do business in Atlanta, there are incentives. Global Chamber is a resource for you and your business to move forward and take advantage of business grants and other financial tax incentives, and then protecting your money. FinTech is another focus for us. Since this is a hub for FinTech, we certainly want to keep that as one of our focuses. Import and export is what Global Chamber does. And we have 2 ports, as you know, on the eastern shore of Georgia and Brunswick and in Savannah. So import and export is the heart of the business as well, because if you have a product, you want to be able to move it in and move it out. Building intercultural relationships, because we are a global organization, we want to make sure that we are mindful, sensitive on how we communicate, operate to be successful in our business operations. So we do have Globinars on that and leaders around the world and different metros that offer trainings and Globinars. We also, our focus is on collegiate entrepreneurs and internships, and as I mentioned, global youth leaders. And to focus on, in the process of being environmental stewards, taking care of this beautiful land that we have been entrusted to, and so that it's not just here for us, but for those that will follow. Okay, so today we are doing our International Month of the Women and Financial Planning Workshop. It's coming up just in a few minutes. We also have our advisory board meeting scheduled for next week. And then in April, we will have an Atlanta State of Affairs giving you an update business-wise on what's going on in Atlanta. If you want to be a part of any of this, certainly let us know. Feel free to email me or members of our team or Global Chamber at large, and we'll get the information. We're also going to have start back our Global Team networking events in the month of April, which we were able to feature in 2021 and in the end of 2020, talking about custom and cultures around the world as it pertains to doing business and centered around tea. And we'll have another scheduled advisory board meeting for April. So this is just a glance of what our focus is, what we're going to do. But in the meantime, we want you to be able to be a part of this on a long-term basis. If you haven't joined and you're interested, you can always go here to do that. Always be certain to type in the comment box Atlanta for Global Chamber Atlanta. And now coming up for Global Chamber, one of our very own, Junko Horvath, who's a certified financial planner. She has won some of the many top financial awards and was just recently nominated for Best in Atlanta. And we're going to have her take over the slides. And I'll share a little bit more as you're doing that, Junko. Welcome, Junko, and welcome each and every one of you. And we will have what we call pregnant pauses throughout her presentation where you might have some questions. So I'll just kind of interject and say, is this a good time for us to entertain a few of the questions that I see in the chat? And she'll let us know, and we'll move through that. So be sure to put your information in the chat room, if you would, about who you are, how we can reach you, and your contact information. Yes, in the state and 525 main metros. Thank you, Doug. We have our CEO and founder on, and he'll speak as we move towards the end of this presentation.
Great. Can I start, Dana?
Yes, I could see you. Yeah. And I think the volume, just make sure that's good.
Yeah, volume, can everybody hear me? Good afternoon.
Let's see your emojis if you can hear her. I want to be sure we're good. Look under the reactions and let me just be sure we're good here.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I see some thumbs up. So let's move forward. You've got it.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So before my presentation of the navigating the financial terrain during life changes and protecting your money, I want to ask you a question. Do you know of any woman who is currently going through some kind of financial transition, such as getting divorced, getting inheritance, and getting, the retiring after working 30, 40 years, or becoming a widow, or selling their successful business? And what I mean by that, it could be you, it could be your mom, it could be your sister, it could be your best friend or coworker. Whoever that is, I'm passionate about helping them successfully navigate it. And let me tell you why. And hold on a second. I grew up in Japan in a traditional Japanese home. My father was a corporate executive, and my mom was a homemaker. And my father was not controlling person at all, but he never disclosed to my mom how much he made and how much we had in savings. Instead, my mom was given allowance every month to buy what's necessary to the household. My mom sometimes told me, like, why my father didn't share the information, but she sounded content and okay with the money he was giving her every month. But sometimes when they had a big fight, my mom came to me and told me, Junko, I want to leave home. And then I always told her, how could you leave home? You don't even have any money. You don't know how much my father is making or whether he has savings. And even if he had savings, you don't know whether he could share that with you. And one day, my mom came to me and said, Junko, when she was very frustrated, she said, Junko, my mom died when I was 2, and my father died when I was 11. I didn't have the time or I didn't have the chance to get education. Education will open up doors. Junko, study hard. Don't be like me. Education will open up doors for you, and you won't have to depend on anyone else. So I took her words to heart, and I decided to come to this country and get an MBA and become a financially independent woman. And fast forward, after I became a financial advisor, I thought that my mom's situation was because of her heritage. So when I quickly learned, even women here who are well educated didn't have any confidence in their own finances. Now I was shocked. And then I thought, wow, this is not just my mom. I thought it's different here. And the reason is that even though women who are well educated here are very bright, they tend to become busy with child caring, all the taking care of children, giving baths, and they're doing the couple mostly, even though their spouse helps. Still, it's a lot of them falls into women's lap, and also like taking care of aging parents and all that. So once they are doing that all day long, they get so tired, and at the 10 or 11 o'clock at night, they don't have any energy left, to talk about to their spouse, like, hi, honey, what's our investment doing? Let's talk about our allocation. Who want to do that at night? So that happens, every day, every week, every year, easily, like 10 years has passed, 20 years has passed. That's how women lose a track of their, where the accounts are, or how they are investing, how much they are investing, where they are investing, and all that. And even though the women tend to pay bills and taking care of those, and they know the bank account, they don't, many times they don't get involved so heavily on the investment side. So I thought that I have to correct it. And my mission as a financial advisor is to encourage those women to be financially independent and manage their own money or co-manage with their spouse without leaving the responsibility to the spouse. And even though your life is perfect right now, what happens when you lose your job or your business value plummeted during pandemic? Or what happens if you are forced to retire? That happens a lot during the pandemic, but you are not sure whether you can retire. We tend to, many of us retire only once in life, but we tend to do that at the cold turkey. I know so many people who just lost the job, tried to find it and can't find it. So they said, okay, I'm retiring, without knowing whether they can really retire, whether they can do what they wanted to do, while they are working and dreaming of. They just retire. So that's why it's very important to make a plan in advance. And also, what happens if your spouse passed unexpectedly? I have a client whose spouse just died 2 weeks ago, and she called herself caged animal. She didn't know where all the money was. So we are scrambling, trying to find it, that she was sent by CPI, and she wasn't allowed to travel or spend any money. So luckily, she was tearing yesterday in my office to learn how much money, he left, but she didn't have any freedom. So if there is divorce happening, sometimes it happens like in a split of a second. Sometimes that the spouse announces that he's leaving and you are on your own, and that's okay as long as you know your financial situation. But if you didn't know anything, you'll be overwhelmed. The good news is that transitions are normal and we'll all go through them at some point in life. I don't know anyone who really didn't go through any transitions. Who is this webinar for? This is for the people, if you are going through a life transition due to widowhood, divorce, inheritance, retirement, sale of business, and windfall, care of aging parents, sudden illness or disability, losing a job, moving to other states, another country, loss of parents or child, or legal settlement. So those, if you are going through this kind of transitions, this is a good webinar for you. And let me just give you one example, like how people reach out to us, such as my client who found out her spouse was cheating her. And so she went to a divorce attorney and said her spouse is definitely hiding money, but she had no idea where they are. So the CPA, the divorce lawyer recommended her to hire a forensic accountant. It took the forensic accountant over 3 years to figure out where all the money was. The charge from the forensic accountant and divorce lawyer was enormous amount, but still it was worth to go after him. And finally, divorce decree was issued and the money was coming in. The half of the money from him was supposed to go to her individual account, and another half to go to her retirement account, IRA. And when it came, actually, it was surprising. All the money came to her retirement account. So we called the divorce lawyer and said, what's going on? All the money came to her retirement account. She's less than 59 and a half years old. So each time she draw money to live off of, she had to pay not only the 10% penalty because she's below 59.5 to touch from the IRA, but also she had to pay tax for each amount she draws. And divorce lawyer said, oops, oh, didn't I send you the final divorce decree? You know, that kind of mistake happens. So, and luckily we are able to fix the problem, but those are the, you know, this kind of situation happens if you are not, you know, careful. And I want to go through more examples, but I don't think we have time. So let me skip that. And we also help clients who has a built up capital gains and want to sell buildings and move into other states, but so much capital gains. So we help them defer the capital gain tax or reduce that. And these are the types of scenarios and challenges we often see with our client. And even good transitions like receiving a sudden windfall from an inheritance or the sale of business can be overwhelming and frustrating for some people because it's really, you know, it's really, people don't go through those transitions often. So it's intimidating and they don't know what to do with it. Do you know the
this a good
best
time? Is this a good time for a little pregnant pause for a question?
Yeah. If you have any questions, please put in chat and Dana would let me know.
Thank
And if not, yeah, if not, I'm just gonna keep going.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, okay, so this is for the woman of increasing means who desire to learn from proven wealth management expert, women in the financial transition looking for some help regarding financial matters, and women who have financial authority in their family of women who have competence in finances. And you don't have to actually have a competence that by working together, women tends to come to the meetings instead of just sending the spouse to the advisor. Then each time women attend the meetings, they get more and more educated. And after 10 years, 20 years, they know as much or even more than the spouse. So they have a confidence in managing their own finances. So that's what's really happening. And why is the preparing before the change happen is important? Because a life transition will impact your finances. And this is a quote, and I think it's a really good quote, and I like it very much. I'm a certified financial planner, but I'm also a certified financial transitionist to help the people in a financial transition and the founder of the Financial Transitionist Institute, Susan Bradley. She's a great woman. She helps all the people in a financial transition. She said, when life changes, money changes. When money changes, life changes. Don't you think it's really true that life and money, it's really correlated and connected? And you need a plan for it. And why? Because if you already have a plan in place, you don't stress about how or where to invest your money. You have an overall game plan about your finances. You are able to retire at the current standard of living. And I think it's very important when you retire, you don't want to have a, less quality of life. You want to take out your kids and grandkids, to like Disney World and Sea World and, sometimes go to the cruise, and you want to do that kind of thing. And you want your grandkids to have a good memory with you. So what if you knew with certainty your finances would be fine throughout the transition you are going through? And that's very, that's important to have the certainty that you know your finances. So what if you had a solid plan for retirement and you know having enough money to retire at the current lifestyle, the best investment at your age or and for your situation, and the exit strategy if you have a business, those are really important. And over the next several slides, I'm going to show you why transitions need financial planning and why financial planning and preparing for change is necessary. And I want to touch on the mindset, how a healthy mindset regarding transition and the change will make you stronger and less stressed, regardless of your personal money story. And I'm going to skip because of the timing. And this is me. I'm a certified financial planner, and CFP, certified financial planner, that's a gold standard of our industry. But why did I add certified financial transitionist designation, CEFT designation? Because just because I'm certified financial planner does not mean I'm trained to help people go through financial transitions emotionally, because people have emotions. And if you can't get through those emotions, and you cannot move forward with finances. So I wanted to help deeply. I wanted to help and deeply understand what's going through the client mind and the life. So that's why I added this designation. I have over 20 years of experience in this industry, and I'm helping women in transition with financial planning, investment management, and financial advice. And these are the award I got. So if you stay until the end of the presentation, you are going to receive a free copy of my book, Women in Financial Transition. This is sold at Amazon, but I'll give you a free PDF copy at the end. I'll show you how. And I'll also give you your money story worksheet that I'm gonna talk about. And also, if you want to have a consultation with me, you can have that. And I'm going to give you the information later. I just want to talk about the 4 stages of transition. Any transition you go through, usually there are 3 or 4 stages, starting from anticipation stage. Next stage is ending. Third stage is passage. And the last stage is new normal. And what happens at the anticipation stage? So I just want to go stage by stage quickly. Anticipation stage, people start to feel something may happen which could change their lives. They don't know when it's coming or what's going to happen, but they start to feel something may be changed in the future. So that's anticipation stage. And the next stage is ending. In the ending, how do people know you moved from anticipation stage to ending stage? That is because in the ending stage, you know your life will never go back to the way before. And that doesn't necessarily mean, the ending doesn't mean financial transitions has happened. Many times it's not, but life ended, or you lost a spouse, or you got divorced, or things won't go back to the previous way. That's when you know you are in the ending stage. And the next stage is a passage. Passage stage, people stay in a passage stage longest, many times 3 to 5 years in a passage stage. And in this stage, not only the people are finishing up the financial transition, yeah, but also people are trying to figure out who they are, especially if someone was married like 30, 40, even 50 years, and she was Mrs. So-and-so for such a long time, and suddenly becomes single. So she had to find like who she is. She may not even remember who she was before as a single woman. So she had to be comfortable and find herself. You know, what is she? Who she is? And that's a big struggle for many people. And the last stage is hold on, is this is ending. Is a new normal stage. New normal stage, you completed the transition and you feel comfortable, somehow, you know, somewhat comfortable with the uncomfortableness. And you get used to being alone and you just accept it and adapt it to the new life. And how do we, the financial transitionists, know they went to the new normal stage? Usually we can tell because our client can talk about the past with smile, or even making a jokes about the past with the spouse. That's when we know they went through the transition, and at this stage that women gain back the energy and rejuvenated. Sometimes they really feel free, and take any challenge they can take and do something new or different, and they are starting to enjoy their life. And how you go through this life transition is determined by your money story. And I want to talk about money stories. First of all, when you talk about the brain, there are two sides of money or two sides of brain. And one side is technical, other side of the brain or money is personal. And what does technical side of brain does is, it's thinking about taxes, investment, estate planning, and cash flow, risk management, those rational, logical brain. And other side of the brain is thinking about relationships with people, with kids and friends and all the people around you, and emotions and hopes and dreams, self-esteem and sense of well-being. And both sides are equally important. But which side do you think, at the end, makes the financial decisions? If you can put in a chat, which side you think that, make a decision? So, well, it's a personal side. Over 70% of the time, people make financial decisions by personal side of brain, especially for women. And it's not because women and men are equal, but biologically, we are made different. We want more connections, or you can tell that, we need more relationship compared to men. So because of that, we tend to make decisions in a personal side of brain. And if our personal side of brain is so emotionally tangled and cannot think straight, it could be a problem. So then now I want to talk about a money story. And what is a money story? Everybody has a money story. Money story was formulated most likely before you are in kindergarten. And then money story was created by collecting all the messages from your parents, your uncle, your aunt, and like your teachers, or even the people from your churches or synagogue, or even from media, whether you are aware of it or not. And then how your parents talked about money, how they spent money, how they saved money, all of that. So you collected those messages since you were a child, and then that is basically the narrative that you tell about the place of money in your life when you are growing up, right? And it influences even now your money behaviors, your money expectations, and overall financial decisions. So that's why it's very important that you know about your money story. And then this is a worksheet called What's Your Money Story worksheet. And I think it's very important to do this. And what I recommend is that you print this out and go to somewhere like lake or park or Starbucks or where you won't see anyone, And then this money story worksheet starting from the past money story. So if you are really honest to yourself, you don't show that to anyone. So you can be honest, and then you can just write about your relationship with money when you are growing up, the past money story. And then you also, the worksheet has a current money story. So you just put your current money story, and then with the open-mindedness and the open-mindedness, you just analyze and assess your money story. And if you can have some improvement of your past or current or both money stories, you can create a great future money story. But without going through this kind of exercise, it's very difficult to change the behavior and the mindset about the money. And then I want to give you this What's Your Money Story worksheet. And if you are the first 10 people to follow me on LinkedIn, and this is my LinkedIn address, linkedin.com/in/Junko Horvath, and make a comment about Globinar, like how, Doug is great and Dana is great. You learn something from my webinar, whatever. So you can receive a free money story worksheet. So please do that. And then if you stay until the end, you would get my book and the money story worksheet. And you can get the 30 to 45 minutes free consultation with me. I'm sorry, can you see my screen? And then I just want to touch you why I wrote this book, Women in Financial Transition. Because 2019, I decided to write this book. And the reason is because many women come to my office and then they cry and tell me to help them after making a financial transition, and many times making a lot of big mistakes, irreversible mistakes, and come and cry and ask for help. And I was really very sad because even though I'm a financial planner, at that point, I can't help them. I feel like, why didn't you come earlier? But many women, especially like in a divorce case, they're really scared of their spouse. And they feel like, spouse is hiding money, but if they try to hire a lawyer, spouse get upset so that he may not give any money, and kids get upset because she's trying to hire a lawyer and not trying to amicably divorce. So those people come, and I thought, well, there are so many of them coming to my office, and this must be not to my office. It must be nationally, anywhere in the nation. This must be happening every day. So I really wanted to have some kind of resource book for them. So I decided to interview over 50 people who went through the financial transitions and made mistakes or success, if they could share with me. And then I went all over to interview them. But I just didn't want my book to be like all the examples of those mistakes and the success. So I wanted to be resourceful. So I also interviewed a lot of professionals, such as estate planning lawyers and child psychologists, forensic accountant, and elder law lawyers, and the Medicare specialists and the business brokers and all those people, so that by reading my book, you don't have to go through your own costly mistakes. That's why I wrote this book, and I encourage you to read my book. And if your life is perfect, you may know of someone who is currently going through the transitions and having a hard time. I want you to give my book to them. And what's are transitions and how they affect you? I just want to quickly touch that. For the divorce case, what kind of things are concerned about people? People are concerned about. Studies prove the economic cost of divorce falls more heavily on women. Will I be financially okay if I get a divorce? How do I split up my assets? Should I take the house or half of my spouse's retirement account? What would happen to my kids if I die after divorce? Those are really valid questions, right? So it's important to think through those questions and ask the questions. Dana, so it's
Yes, this is a good segue to the questions I've seen that come up in the chat. First of all, we just want to thank you for this wealth of information. And I know that some questions have come up that I'd like to address. And then if any of you online like to ask directly, you can just unmute yourself, but I'll just read the ones that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Excellent job, Junko. So one of the questions that has come up is, this is from Stephanie Austin, Executive Director in Austin, Texas. She says, do you have a program for college students to get them started on the financial planning track for their future?
Well, I don't have the specific program for college students. Last year, actually, one of the Colorado institution reached out to me, and I spoke to them, and that was, I think it's called the Caregivers Conference, because sometimes caregivers, they have like a college age kids or younger kids, and they also the aging parents and stuck in the middle of it. So, and they asked, all kind of questions. And one of them was, what kind of advice you give to the college kids? So main thing I talked about was the power of compound. I just did the same thing to my kids. Like, for example, if you had $10,000 and you are like 20 years old, I just quickly calculate, let's say $10,000, right? You are 20 years old. So you just put that 10,000 into some, account, investment account, and then you try to take that 10,000 out 50 years later when you are 70. So hold on. And the investment went with 7%. How much do you have? Hold on. 10,000 and 50 years, 7%. And that 10,000 would be 294,000, So it's a dramatic growth, right? So that's the power of compounding. So I don't have, the answer is I don't have that kind of program, but it's important for the college kids to know about finances, because many of the parents don't talk about money. So they don't talk about, or they don't teach about money to their own children.
So. In particular, since you brought up the point that really we start learning and building a relationship around money at a very, very young age, influenced by parents, family members, experiences that impact us the rest of our lives. So that's good to know. What are some other questions that we have for Junko? And then after that, I think I'll read the names that I've seen that have responded, that have followed her on LinkedIn. And then those who stay to the end, as she mentioned, you get a copy of her financial book. And then we'll have Doug Brunke, our CEO and founder of Global Chamber, to come on.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we'll entertain let's see, we have time for 2 more questions.
Yeah.
This is your time. You have the financial planner certified expert right here in the room. And you may have a comment. We'll welcome those as well.
Yeah. Okay. So if
Stephanie Austin, I definitely would like to comment. I love financial planning. It just speaks to my heart. And as you mentioned, it all there's a story behind it. And I've always wanted to make sure I have something for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And that is why I've been very intentional of saving, even if it's just $20 a month,
Yeah.
and I share that message with my children. And one thing you mentioned about women, they'll get divorced and they don't have anything. And I wonder, how do we get women past that? And then there's also women who it's not because of a divorce that they're not doing it. It's just for other reasons. And I would love for this awareness to be made for women, don't get your nails done every 2 weeks, make it every 3 weeks, or don't get your hair done 1 month. That money you deposit into your financial planning and don't ever touch. And I'm very passionate about that because it's important. And I just hate when we don't have enough as we become more seasoned, I would say.
Yeah, so that's a very important point. Try to save money, and many people don't do that. Oh, next year. Oh, next year, and easily like 10 years go very quickly without saving any money, And I learned that my money story, if I may share, is that I had a friend who was very wealthy, and I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I'm sure that my mom became friends with this boy's mother. So they made a play date planning. So then the boy called Ken, when I was 5 or 6, he came to my house by the, father was the one who always brought him with a beautiful, big, shiny car. And even as a child, I could tell, his family has money. And all of a sudden, he disappeared. His family disappeared one day. And I was so young, so I didn't really know or remember what's going on. I didn't see him until after I went to college. So it's like maybe 15, 16 years had passed. And he came in front of me. First thing I said was, "How is your father?" And he looked down and he said, "Oh, my father passed away a long time ago." And I know in Japan, many people suddenly, the family lose money, and the father, goes through like a bridge and go into like ocean and kill everybody every member of the family. In that case, it didn't happen to Ken. Ken was still alive. But that kind of things like, well, you can't really have a very extravagant kind of life and you have to save money. So that kind of mentality. And I got one more friends like that. Father died, they're very wealthy, and my friend's life changed dramatically, by looking at that and growing up like that. So I learned like, oh, we gotta prepare for the rainy day money, So
Junko, again, we want to thank you for sharing this wealth of information. And I want to welcome Doug to come on and share some information and greet the
Right. So I'm
group.
going to just show you my last page, how to get me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you want to book a call, I don't know whether you can see I'm going to put in a chat my email address and the website. Yeah.
Please do. And we have a comment here from Eric Dunlap, who's also part of our Global Chamber Atlanta and a part of our advisory board. He says, "I think that the college market can be a long-term strategy to teach students before they enter into the workforce."
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to stop share. Thank you so much for everyone. Yeah, your feedback is greatly appreciated.
You've got some followers on LinkedIn. They are looking for that financial worksheet.
Yeah,
And
okay,
then-
I need, yeah.
And we'll
info.
take a screenshot of everybody's name that's on here so
Yeah,
they can get a
great.
copy of your ebook.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Doug, Frankie,
How amazing. Junko, thank you so much for the information. You're also, is it a multiple book author? How many books have you written?
I wrote only one book. That's my first book.
That is your first book, and you're planning, I think you were talking about doing another book already, aren't you?
Yeah, yes,
Wow.
but it's time is the time. Yeah, time is the yeah, it's challenge. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. It's so critically important. It's in my family, as I've thought about it as you're talking, it's really probably my grandmother who was the financial person who kind of kept the family together, despite my crazy grandfather, all of his entrepreneurial ventures. So we had the opposite kind of result. And somehow my daughter ended up becoming very interested in financial work, and she was doing taxes for volunteer work, and now she's a nurse practitioner, and her husband is a very wealthy executive at Tesla, and she kind of keeps him in gear, because he's like a spender and a crazy guy, and she's like the grounding of between them, and really she advises us as well. So it's kind of cool. I think that's really unusual, and I think the stories that you talked about in your own personal story is just so compelling.
yeah,
Many of us can relate to that. So keep up the great work. I encourage everybody to get to know Junko, connect to her in LinkedIn, read her book, whether it's the free version or you need to purchase it. Either way, it's just so critically important to be able to have security, as you grow older, and have freedom. My wife was telling me, one final quick story. My wife was telling me this morning that she was talking to somebody who was a neighbor who left her husband because he was abusive, and he continued to be abusive, and she didn't know how much money he had. She didn't have any money, and she actually told her friends, she told my wife that she told her friends, it's just easier to go back to him and put up with the abuse rather than this life. And that's horrific. She ended up deciding to go through hell and back, and she did, but she was through a very contentious divorce, got almost nothing out of it. And then now she has a boyfriend, but why go through that? So thank you, Junko, for all that you've done and all that you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
Keep up the
excellent.
great work.
You know that
And
one
Dana,
quote,
thank you as well.
thank you too. Thank you, Doug, for your support and leadership. I'm going to end on this quote, and this is a part of Junko's presentation. When life changes, money changes. When money changes, life changes. I think we can attest to that we are aware of that and we live it, and that we can take the responsibility for those changes that we have control over. Again, follow her on LinkedIn, and she'll register your names and send you the worksheet. I've got a snap of all of the names that are listed in the attendance that stayed to the end. I'll provide that to Junko so that she can share with you a copy of her Wonder Financial book. And then we look forward to seeing you on another Globinar. Check globalchamber.org under events for the next upcoming schedule. And then we have our advisory board meeting next week. But this week, I know that Ruby with Global Chamber Accra, Ghana, they're having a wonderful event in conjunction with India. Ruby, are you able to speak? You may have gone because I know it's quite late there. But if you are interested, you want to go ahead and register for that. There's also an event coming up this week regarding Ukraine. I just want to encourage you to look and see what some of the other offerings are and come and be a part of us, be a part of Global Chamber. I shared the link at the bottom. If you haven't joined, feel free to come on and be a part of this global tribe. And we wish you all nothing but the best. We are global and unstoppable. Thank you for your presence. And thank you so much, Junko. We'll see you guys on a Globinar coming soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much. Yeah,
Thank you.
Pat. Thank you, Tina, everyone.